Yo, welcome to another episode of the greatest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and submission grappling podcast ever, the BJJ GOONS podcast. And I'm one half of the team here, Tim, the Mushmaster Spriggs. And with me as always, every week is...
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's no new Nico. I'm glad to be back for another week of, like Tim said, the best BJJ podcast. How are you doing, Tim? How are you doing? Oh, I got.
I'm doing pretty damn good. I can't even lie. I'm doing really well with the pro wrestling thing. I'm still trying to get more bookings for wrestling and acting. I don't know if I said this, but my acting resume, I touched it up a little bit, and I've been sending it out more and more. The podcast is doing pretty well. Back in behind the scenes, we're upgrading. We're going to go back to more in-person interviews, and just to increase the quality of the audio and the visual. I think we've come a long way. We've learned a whole lot. Just a matter of being patient and progressing in life. Other than that, it's cool. In hindsight, I should have asked Flo for way more money because I have a bunch of I have a bunch of racist incels that are white and blue belts that are probably going to quit jiu-jitsu in a year in my mentions. I
And
had one girl
that are mentioning you, or are they in your DMs?
No, not in my DMs. They're not ballsy enough to do that. But like in the comment section of whenever I get tagged in the who's number one stuff, it is definitely a lot of the type of people who would storm the Capitol on January 6th.
Oh,
And I think they're bots. I think a lot of it is bots because I'm certain that it doesn't make sense that many people are that care that much about jiu-jitsu.
It's always like a fake page or a private account, or this one person that has like 10 accounts and he likes to go on trolling people because they have nothing better to do with their lives.
It's very strange, but it's cool because as a wrestler, I love it, and it shows me that I'm doing an awesome job of getting heat.
Yeah, and you're a heel, right? So
I'm a heel. I think I'm doing an awesome job.
Storyline, so
it wasn't a storyline. Everything I said was real. Yesterday they dropped this long diatribe I had with Craig Jones at the end of the show, and they just said, "Oh, Tim, just go off." I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go off," and I literally went off for 7 minutes. And it was an awesome promo. I don't know if you saw, but that promo was excellent.
I haven't, because you don't share anything with me, Tim. We need to work on it.
I shared on my social media. Mind you, I gotta commend you, Nico, because you're on social media, but you're not on social media because social media is a cesspool. So there's that. I'm working to not be on social media as often and as much. So I started reading more. That's what's up with me too. A lot more reading. I do my Duolingo every day for my Espanol. Although let me allow you to plug what you're doing with this whole learning language thing. Go ahead,
yeah, that's
plug it.
So I've been over the years teaching private jujitsu classes. No, I don't. I teach private Portuguese classes for jiu-jitsu athletes. So they're kind of sports-based language classes. So I'm going to be launching an actual course now, because doing Zoom classes, it can be a little bit hard. Matching up with fighters' schedules is nearly impossible, especially if they're competing. So now you can just access everything online. So it's funny that you should mention that about social media. I have been reaching out to people to help me with this process. So that's why I was doing my blog for Worlds, because I record a lot of stuff. I hate being on camera, right? And I can teach a lot of classes, but it's like, don't judge me, Tim. So I have a homework now that I have to start making actual reels to kind of promote all of this knowledge and the basis behind this course. So one of the things, and I don't know if you saw it today, it was one of the things when you're trying to learn your language is it's very hard when you're using things like Duolingo that just teach you random vocabulary and you don't know how to apply it, or you can't apply it. Did you do your Duolingo this morning?
No, I usually do it in the afternoon.
Okay. Did you do it yesterday afternoon?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you remember from yesterday afternoon?
What I remember from yesterday afternoon is what I was discussing, and was the time of days and how I use it in a sentence and the days in the week. And for instance, say, cuando es el partido de fútbol hoy o miércoles, for example, or
Okay.
lunes. So is the soccer game or football game today, or let's say lunes, so that'd be Monday, correct? Lunes, martes, miércoles.
When
Lunes,
was the
martes.
last time you went to a soccer game? So that's good. You got your vocab and you knew what you actually learned. A lot of people, they just kind of go through things and they can't kind of reiterate, they forget it. So when was the last time you went to a soccer game?
I didn't. But
when was the last time you talked about soccer with somebody?
I mean, my cousin is really good at soccer. He's one of the best kids in the country. I talked to him, but typically no. Typically when I'm speaking Spanish with my mamacita, we use common one of my mamacitas.
He said what?
One of my mamacitas.
Tim just
Typically when I'm
acknowledged. He's like, wait, did I just say that? I
one
can't
of
take
them.
it back.
So typically when I do that, I talk to, or anybody that speaks Spanish. There's a lot of Spanish speakers in my life. I use it in context of like everyday shit. So there's some terms or catchphrases like "no se trata de ti," which means it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, little phrases like that, or I say, or little things like "vení," which means come here, or
Beni means come here in a Central American accent.
Yeah, I know a lot of it's because the DMV. There's a lot of Central Americans here, especially El Salvadorian. Like I know so many Salvadorians to the point where, like, if I look at someone, I can kind of tell.
But but if you're, but if you're trying to learn, I've mentioned that because if you're trying to learn Spanish and you're studying Spanish, you're not going to ever learn Beni. They're going to tell you it's ven acá. So if you went and you learn ven acá, but you're not going to understand Beni. So like what Tim is saying is like very true. You need to learn how to like apply it and like learn the phrases that are around you. Like you might never want to know when the football game is or the soccer game, but could you try to use that vocabulary to ask when the next jiu-jitsu competition is?
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I took from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like basic terms. Also, what helps too is reading. I have a poetry book that's half Spanish, half English. And I feel dumb because it's like I feel like a grade schooler because it's like I'm learning. But like I figure if I keep reading and I keep doing it, it's gonna eventually get through my thick skull.
But that's exactly what I was saying today on Instagram. It's like you can read a lot of things and you get like extra context clues. Like one of our listeners was saying that they have like a lot of comic books in Spanish, and comic books are super helpful because like you can see what they're saying. Like a lot of times if we're reading a book and it's, if you look at the magazine, a magazine is even different from a book. A book barely has pictures. A magazine will give you like some kind of, and naturally, this is a gun one, but like, there's no pictures on this page to put this text into this text into any other context. And this is an ad. So it's not going to help me tell me what the text is about. But comic books, little kids books, like those things are really helpful because like if you study grammar, that's really boring.
Yeah. I had this idea from The Color Purple where Celie was trying to learn how to read, where she put words on things so that every time she looked at it, she'd have to read it. And I think maybe that would help in Espanol, but that's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. You're using jujitsu, and that's great because you're using the jujitsu niche to, excuse me, to promote another skill set that you have, which is teaching and the fact that you're bilingual. And I think that's awesome.
Trilingual. I'm trilingual, Tim. Mm-hmm. Don't count out. Trilingual. Try.
English, Portuguese, and Espanol.
And Spanish and a lot of French, but I don't claim French yet. I can read in French. I can communicate decently. Like I can get around. I can deal with some Senegalese wrestlers if need be, manage them if they come here to the US trying to train at TLI or something.
Yeah, we need some in pro wrestling. Those guys are fucking jacked.
But you mentioned, let's go to Senegal and find some. That would be a great vlog.
That would be.
And we're going to be talking about traveling this episode. So
absolutely. Traveling in the jiu-jitsu niche, and specifically jujitsu camps, like vacation camps. I was thinking about this last night. We were thinking about what would interest the BJJ Goon squad, and something that is very popular in jujitsu. My first experience with it wasn't an actual experience of me going, but have you seen Arte Suave?
Yeah, that's a
Okay,
classic documentary. So
it
yeah.
is it is it's one of the best documentaries I've seen because it is it, it's just one of the best documentaries ever, in my opinion. And it shows in one of them BJJ Camp, which was, I think it was Team Braza, right? Or
Yep.
was it?
Yep.
Yeah, Team
Well, they've
Braza.
had a couple. I know Gracie has an adventure thing, but like the main one that I feel back in the day was Team Braza, which was Felipe Costa, who did his little man camps and
Costa,
adventure camps with Rodrigo
Comprido,
Comprido.
Jacare was there. I don't know if Damian Maya was there. I don't think he was in there. But it was an opportunity for people to train with world-class black belts at the time. And they would train, saying like 2 times a day, but they'd be like surfing and stuff. And you have a lot of experience in this, don't you, Nico?
I do. So it's like I've never hosted my own camp, and it's funny that you should say this because I'm actually planning one. I'm working with somebody to organize a trip. They wanted to do like a health and wellness trip, kind of traveling maybe to Costa Rica or something else. But then we started talking about the possibilities of doing it in Brazil because I lived in Brazil for 3 years. The whole time, like I lived in different areas. I lived in Barra de Tijuca. When I originally went down there, I was staying for 3 months at a hostel that was created for people that wanted to come to Brazil to train jiu-jitsu. So it was like a jujitsu hostel. Not the nicest place, but they had a pool. It was a safe place. It was right next to Gordo Jiu-Jitsu, which was in a small neighborhood in Baja. And Baja is where Gracie Baja started. That's like the original neighborhood, but everybody else is really in like Zona Sul. And that's where you find like Checkmat, Fernando Terere, Alliance in Rio is over there. Felipe Costa was right there. There's a black belt Strauss. He's right there in Rio. And they're all in like a couple mile radius. So you have like a ton of amazing black belts there. So Connection Rio kind of facilitated people going down to visit any one of those academies and things like that. So I lived there for 3 months, and then I just lived in Brazil for 3 years. And kind of Connection Rio is like, I kept going back. I was always going back just to find gringos, to find people that spoke English to speak to. And then when I ran out of money, just like kind of hustling over there, like I would charge them to register them for tournaments, or charge them if they needed to go to the post office but didn't have the language skills that they needed, or I would help them get to different academies or take them into the favela. So that's kind of how I started like curating experiences in Brazil. Like at one point I was giving favela tours, and then I was always posting and I was always blogging and doing things like that. So people knew I was in Rio, and then they would hit me up on social media if they wanted to come down there. Like I have a really good friend, Tavares, in Alabama. He gives me a lot of details on wrestling, both like the actual wrestling, Greco wrestling kind of thing. He was trying to buy ADCC tickets when it was in Sao Paulo, and you couldn't buy the tickets from outside of Brazil because it's some typical Brazilian thing. And like, that's how I met him. So he went to ADCC, and then he came to Rio. Fernando Reals, I met, like Pavs, I met Osiri and Natalie. I met all just because I was chilling in Rio, and they hit me up because they were coming down for different things and they needed a contact or a resource. So then like going and providing a trip or experience is just kind of really easy for me now to like link in all the little pieces.
It's incredible. That's a lot of information. So
if unless you have a question, because I know you just kind of have things like, what would be a BJJ trip to you? Like, what made you think of this?
What made me think of it was I always wanted to go on one.
Why? Like, what about it? Like, because it's
I would get
different, like
paid
motivations. Oh, see, you want, yeah, okay. See, your
I would want to
motivations
get
are
paid. I would
different.
want to get invited. Like I never got an invite for me to be in charge of one or to be a teacher on one because I always thought I was a good teacher. Recently, I had a seminar in Ohio at Ohio Browser. Shout out to Deion Thompson and all the Ohio Browser crew. And it was a great experience. You know, we had the seminar, there was an open mat, we had a cookout, and I thought to myself, man, this must be what it's like, you know, on these BJJ trips. And I thought to myself, where would I want to go? Where all I had to do was teach jujitsu, roll with some people, and have the rest of the day to party. I thought about the location. If I was a student who I would want to be my instructor, what kind of amenities? We're talking lodging, we're talking food, the training schedule, and what the goals of the trip would be. So in my mind, I think location. Typically with these trips, it's on a beach, and you know, I thought, that's kind of basic. If I want to go on a trip somewhere, it needs to be something that I can kind of have like a cultural exchange or learn something. So, you know, I would love to go to somewhere like France, Italy, the Netherlands, you know, somewhere like that, Amsterdam, where we get the full experience as well as being able to train, but like, you know, go to a cool ass museum. Like, wouldn't it be awesome if you did jujitsu and then you went to the Louvre, or you went to like
Do you know
Big Ben? What?
I think of all the people I've seen at Connection Reel, and it's like, how many of them would actually make an effort to find a shower before they left training and went to the Louvre? And how many
Oh
nasty?
my God. Okay, time out.
You
They're
gotta,
doing all this and they're funky.
you never know, like, because Rio and Connection Rio, like, attracted a different class of people. Because, like, that's why I asked you, like, what are your motivations? Like, you want to teach, but I've seen people that are going there that they're dedicated to training and competing and being better, and other people that train jujitsu, but they like were looking for prostitutes in Brazil. So like you get a
That went
wide
through my
spectrum
mind.
of people. So like you got to figure out how to vet it. So like I assume that like just naturally going to France, you're gonna get a little bit more highbrow, upscale people. But you know, you always have these backpackers. There's that hippie generation. Because like another group that did this kind of thing was BJJ Trotters that was started by Christian G something. He's from Denmark. You know, that's giving a little bit more no shoes, hippie, long hair. I'm gonna be in the Louvre with some, what are they called? Like tubs.
I think that's the disconnect that I may have in this analysis.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a disconnect. You just have to curate your group of people that you're
I never
traveling
looked
with
at
and make sure
people.
they all shower
I
after
just never
training.
thought, whenever I see those, I think, man, these people are not there to get better at jiu-jitsu, because there's no fucking way that you're going to get that much information in a week or a week and a half or even 2 week trip that you're going to be able to say, like, I've improved. Like, that's a camp. It's not a camp. To me, I looked at it as these fuckers are on vacation and they're trying to bump uglies and have a good time while doing jiu-jitsu with famous people so they can get a photo op.
I like that. That's a big distinction that needs to be made. Like what
To
are
me,
yeah.
because if you have the disposable income to do something like this, you're probably not a full-time athlete. You're probably just doing it for a good time. And you're probably going to want to have a photo op with your favorite instructor, which got me thinking about instructors. Who would you want to teach you? I think that goes into the whole curriculum thing and the goals of the trip. If you are a gi person, which most people that do jiu-jitsu are, you probably want to go with a guy that is a very good gi competitor. But if you're going to be around these people for so long, you got to have an instructor that is fun, has charisma, and you're going to probably end up partying with them. In some cases, some people may even screw around with them. So I would think about an instructor that is good and going to be fun. And, you know, I
someone
think,
that you don't want to lose respect for. Because you
oh
know, sometimes
yeah,
you meet somebody and you realize that they are not everything that you thought they were. Like people like Leandro Luro and Urbis Santos get like white boy wasted, drunk kind of thing. Like that's not something I want to see from my hero.
oh yes, that is very true. I hope I never disappoint people that, like, I mean, typically they're like, wow, Tim's really nice and down to earth. I don't get white boy wasted in front of the clients. So I would go with a guy like Muhammad if I was a regular person that did jujitsu, because he's bilingual. So it's more marketable if you have people that are Brazilian that have the disposable income and Americans that are coming there for fun. He does a really good job explaining shit to people. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of his content as far as teaching lately, but I think he's still doing his thing. And from what I've seen, he's an awesome instructor. I was at Uki back in 2018. Wow. Yeah, I remember that vividly. And he did a great job of teaching it. So you want an instructor that's palatable for people across the spectrum of knowledge. If we're going to have a BJJ camp like in Arte Suave with Braza, it's going to be a little bit more intense because I remember that scene. They were saying like they were training 2 times a day. Like, come on, man. I'm not training 2 times a day if I'm on vacation. This is supposed to be a vacation.
I
If it
mean, it
was
all depends on people's motivations. Like, so
okay,
then you kind
I'll
of have
let
to
you
have the
take over.
flexibility. Like, do people want to train 2 times a day? Do they want to train hard? Like, some people are morning people, some people are evening people. So it's kind of like you might need to have that flexibility in it. And then if we go back to like instructors too, it's like if you're like a blue belt with money, do they even need to be the best, or do you just need a private instructor? Like, I don't know, some people are trying to go like jump off cliffs and hiking and this and that. It's really hard to gauge what people want on that trip. That's what I always wonder, because I've seen so many people come through Brazil. Like, I always wonder, like, how do you find a group of like people that are actually dedicated? And then how would you nail in that training schedule to fit different people?
How have you
Because
seen it done?
leaving it up to options. Like, you could have like excursions, or well, this was like how I plan on getting around it too. I guess I'm not sure if I've ever seen it done necessarily. It's like, because you could have a training schedule with like multiple people, if you have multiple instructors. So like you could have a morning instructor and an evening instructor. Like, for example, when we do our trip to Brazil, something you'll have is like, it's going to be in a city though. So it's like, you could just go to a gym if you wanted to on your own. I could give you the information, but it's like, there will be like yoga and training, like on the beach in the morning, but that's not jujitsu. And then there will be a certain jujitsu training schedule in the afternoon, and then like visiting different academies in the evening. So like, you don't necessarily have to train, but you could visit. But then also like, there's going to be excursions. Like, if you want to go to like a hike, or there's, what is it called, hang gliding, a hike, hang gliding, there's a boat trip, there's a couple different trips that will be offered. So you can either choose to do those in the afternoon, or you could choose to go to like a jitsu academy. But there's like 2 trips that I'm kind of organizing. One is like outside of Rio, where everything would have to be more self-contained. Like, you'd have to take the instructors and everybody there, because it's like in a place in Rio where people from Rio go on vacation. So it's 2 different kind of trips that I'm like curating. But like, I like kind of have to leave it up to the options. Like me, for example, like, I don't drink a lot. Like, I would be the kind of person that would train 2 times a day, like on a trip like that.
With the camp, another aspect is lodging and food. Would you want to have a thing where it's included, or would you want to just be able to have the guys go on food tours? And what kind of living arrangement would you find cool, or do you think is palatable to people?
What I do is, one thing that like we're offering is a personal chef. Like, shout out to my boy Johnny B. I learned the value in this
Ooh.
is I went to Brazil with him, and he knew how to cook. So he was grabbing up local ingredients and taking them home and cooking them and everything. It was amazing. Like, he learned how to make feijoada, which is like a typical Brazilian meal. And I thought he was crazy for trying to go to Brazil and this white boy cook some Brazilian food. But like, he actually had, I hooked him up with somebody that taught him, like somebody's mom got to teach him. But it was just amazing experience. Like, he went, like, I take them to an open air market where you can get like fish, fruits, and vegetables, and they have them in different areas in Rio throughout the city. So we went there, and he got like sardines from this woman, because they were closing too. She was drinking a beer, like some old like tias they call them, and she was just slicing. And she's like, "Oh, you want some? I got you." She started slicing them up, slicing them up. I do not eat sardines, Joe. I think they're nasty. But he took them home and he cooked them, and he put that on a plate with like a little salad, this, that, all fresh ingredients. It was amazing. So that's the kind of experience. But I'm also charging, this is like a premium trip. I'm not taking these people from the hospital, these backpackers. So it's like, that was a great experience to be able to have that. And obviously, like, if you're not like a prisoner, like if you want to go out to different restaurants, like a guide for restaurants and how to get acai, because the way you get food in Brazil is a little bit different. Like you can't get, like, for example, all you can eat pizza, it's a dinner thing. You can never get it at lunch. For lunch, it's like buffet. And like, if you're not from there, you don't know that. Like, it's very hard to find certain things at certain times. So it's like, you kind of offer some food. Most trips have like some kind of meal options included and like transportation, but they won't cover your plane ticket. You get your plane ticket, they'll come pick you up from it. And then in respects to living, like I curate certain Airbnb, like Airbnbs in different places. Like Buzios, it would be like a villa, like a house with a pool, and everything, like a little mini mansion kind of thing, and all be self-contained. Like jujitsu would be in the house, and then there would be like cultural excursions, like boating. And then in Rio, because it's in the city, it would be a little bit more penthouse style. And because if it was a bigger group, it would have to be different, maybe multiple apartments, because you know you want it to be comfortable, and it depends on like the kind of people you're going. Like I've had groups of families come down, so that's a little bit different than a group of people that are focusing on health and wellness.
I like, wow, first of all, that's very thorough. I think it would be a great opportunity for the instructors, because since they already live there, I'm assuming it's a cultural exchange, and we live there, they get so many private lessons there.
Exactly.
So many private lessons there. And, you know, it's a good way to get paid. If you're doing all this work on the back end, if you're an athlete or even like a local school, like the 30 Day Kids Project, if you guys wanted to, I feel as though that'd be a great way for you guys to fundraise, because then you could be like, well, you hippies or you hipsters, you're gonna pay a premium for all this stuff. And I think more athletes should try to go for something like this. If you're run a gym in a nice place, I mean, you know, some people would love to come to Team Lloyd Urban, but I don't think you're gonna want to come to the DMV. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Rio, like
MGM. We got
Europe.
MGM. Yeah, we got a casino over here in the DMV.
Okay, all right. So Rio de Janeiro, Copacabana Beach, National Harbor.
I'm going to Copa, and actually I'm going to Ipa. That's my little secret.
Ipa.
Copacabana is not as nice as Ipanema. If you want to see the sunset, you got to go to Ipanema. That's my little trick. It's the girl from Ipanema, and it's not the girl from Copacabana, y'all. And there's a reason that girl was in Ipanema. And then Leblon is where the money is. Those are my. It's further down the beach, closer to the mountain, but that's where the money is. So, you know, just gonna give you those little tips if you're looking for places to stay in Rio.
I'm totally for jiu-jitsu doing this more often, because it gives these up and comers so much opportunity to make bank, and you can network. And
people don't understand. Sorry.
Go ahead. No.
How fun it is. It's amazing. It's amazing. The experience, the food, training down there, like just the vibe is different, and it's unexplainable, and you don't know until you actually go down there. There's a reason it's the Mecca, and there's a reason it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and you'll feel it as soon as you step on the mats down there.
For sure. Well, Nico, is there anything you want to add to these BJJ vacation trips?
Oh, not really. I've just been like plugging my stuff the whole episode. I think it was really dope. I'm glad you brought it up, because it's about that time of year where I'm supposed to be going back to Brazil to see my people, to check on my businesses. I normally always go back in August. Last year it was December. This year I'm not actually sure where it's going to be, but I definitely encourage y'all to look into it. Like it doesn't have to be a camp. Like we'll definitely be dropping some information. Like I said, I'm curating camps. I've seen other people doing it, but just going to travel. Like if you want to go to Brazil and get a week down there traveling and chilling on the beach, I definitely advise you to take advantage of it. And if you have any questions, hit me up.
All right, guys, you can catch me at Tim Spriggs BJJ on Instagram or Facebook. You can also see me at timspriggsbjj.com. I give private lessons online and in person. Call me up for a seminar. I can make your BJJ game plan for you. I can even critique your matches there, all at timspriggsbjj.com. Before we wrap, I just want to say thank you to our sponsor, John's Fit Meals. It is the best meal prep company in the business. I don't do performance enhancing drugs. I barely know how to cook. So John's Fit Meals helps me stay fueled, helps me get big and strong. I power lift, I do professional wrestling, I still do jiu-jitsu. I started to dabble in kickboxing again. And what keeps me ready and keeps me full is John's Fit Meals. So go to johnsfitmeals.com, use promo code BJJ Goons for a really sick discount. On behalf of Nico and myself, I would like to say thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.